So good evening everyone. Right, so today I'll be sharing on Exodus chapter 4 verses 1 to 17. Alright, so I think the passage can speak to many of us in many ways. When you read it, definitely there's lots of ways that it can speak to you. But for me, was that God qualifies the one He calls. Alright? We are called by God in many ways. Every day in our lives, whether we are in MPTS or studying seminary or in KDU studying or just living our Penang life, but we are called by God in many ways. And we all have our times when we feel that, or when we feel what Moses feel. Do you guys agree?
Yes.
Like when God calls you into something, and you know, it's so easy for us to think that you called the wrong person.
Totally.
Yeah. So then we also have our times when we do what Moses does as well, is to doubt God. Alright. So this verse we're reading is when God was speaking to Moses through the burning bush. Before this verse, it is a continuous from the burning bush, telling Moses of the plans that He had for him. And honestly, if you read back the plan, it's pretty intimidating.
Wow.
Like it's really intimidating, asking you to talk to a king, like which was his brother, he was close with him back then, but still it was intimidating. The king could do anything to him, like throw him to the jail or something like that. Right? So, and I remember Calvin used to share this, that in his older sermons, saying that one of the point was, how do we identify God's plan? And one of them is when we feel that the plans is bigger than what we can handle. A lot of time when God gives you something, it has to be something that is more than what you can handle. Alright, so do you think that the plan that God had for Moses is more than what he can handle?
Yes.
Alright, it's so much more than what he can handle, and that's true for a lot of our plans in our life today as well. Only through him we could accomplish it, just like the plans God had for Moses. It was beyond him. And like Moses, after God had performed miracles after miracles right in front of us, it is still easy for us to doubt. Yeah. Then if you guys read with me, so after that, all that God has done to tell Moses that you can do all this and the people will believe you. Then in verse 11, in verse 10 it says that, Then Moses said to the Lord, "Oh my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue." So, and God's approach to this was it's really quite amazing. So the Lord said to him, who has made man's mouth, or who makes the mute, the deaf, the seeing, or the blind? Have not I, the Lord? And I think that a lot of times this is the approach that we ought to have when God has given us a calling or a plan. A lot of time is we have to, maybe we don't have God's audible voice like Moses back then to listen to God's reminder, but a lot of time we have to go back to His word to remind ourselves of what God thinks about us and of who God is. Alright, how many guys you did that before? Like, you know, it's like when you have a big plan in your life and you don't know what to do, and you have to remind yourself, oh God, you're the one who created everything, and you know, let's trust in Him. Yeah, so the thing is, Moses knew all that, and like who doesn't know that the God of the universe created all that, but the power is in the reminding. We have to remind ourselves. So the same for us. Right? When we feel unqualified, incapable, and whatsoever, we ought to remind ourselves of who God is, and of course what He says in the Bible. Then God continued saying that He will be with His mouth and teach Moses what to say. Isn't that such a comfort? He doesn't just remind him, but after that He even says that He will go with him in this journey, and even be with His mouth and teach what He says, teach him what to say. Yes, but first he have to take the step first, alright? So, but if you guys read on after that, in verse 12, or in verse 13, after God reminded him and said that He will be with him, then Moses, again like us, but he said in verse 13, "Oh my Lord, please send by the hand of whomever else you may send." He doubted God even more, you know. So, even if you guys read before chapter 4, there was even a few more times when in chapter 3 verse 11 as well, he also doubted God. "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt?" So you see, there's so many doubts I mean, guys, you understand what Moses is going through. Yeah. Yes. Alright, so he kind of begged God not to send him, and God's anger was towards Moses was kindled. Alright, and according to Matthew Henry, he says that even self-defeatance, when it grows into an extreme, when it either hinders us from duty or clogs us in duty, or when it discourages our dependence upon the grace of God, is very displeasing to God, to Him. When it's an extreme that we are too caught up with all our discouragement that we are unable to pursue His calling. Yeah. So, and even it's amazing that even with all this doubting, that like after all that God has said, and even God was a bit upset with what has happened, he still considered Moses' frame, consider his flaws, like knowing that he's slow of speech. He said that, so okay, fine, and he gave someone he provided him an assistant, which is his brother, Aaron. Right, so it's interesting that God loves us so much that whatever plans that He has for you, even though with doubt, God reminds you, He go with you, and even with all the doubt, He provides for you what you need to accomplish the goals in your life. So, yes, I hope you are blessed.